Jerry Jones said they have agreement on most of the issues regarding his extension. Nothing is imminent in terms of getting the deal fully closed. But the fact is that he believes there will be a deal, all of which is totally normal for the GM to say. But then either the owner or the GM said, the agent is not a factor here or something to worry about, and I don't know his name. I'm not trying to demean him in any way, but this isn't about an agent. The agent doesn't have one thing to do with what we're doing when we get on the football field against a team. Micah does. To the degree I'm involved, I do. The people that have something to do with what we do going forward relative to our fans and football are me and the player, not the agent. I've spent a lot of time arguing with agents over the decades, a lot. There's some agents who I would not choose to trust with my first penny. On the other side of the scale, there's some agents who I consider friends. There's some agents who are true mensches, who understand what it is to represent somebody to the best of your ability, but understand reason, business. There's one thing that we learned in president's school. It's not page 1 of the playbook. That's how to mislead people through public statements. Page 69 of the playbook is it really doesn't make much sense to sully an agent unless you've got anything that violated rules 1 through 68 of how to be a team president. So when I would come out against Scott Boras, or I did something strategic with an agent that was representing a player who we were trying to sign either in free agency or from our system, there would be times when strategically we would say something about a player's value or about an agent asking too much or being unrealistic. When we were negotiating with the player, I always involved the agent. However, with Scott Boras, I would always fax or send or email or talk to his player, because there were plenty of times, Scott Boras, and he'll deny this, but he's absolutely lying to you, when Scott Boras would get an offer from us and not give it to the player, not give the player a chance to say yes or no. Scott Boras has repeatedly denied this allegation, and let's go with Scott's view that it's true. He's never done that. But just to be sure, he will confirm too, if he's not lying, that we would go to his players and say, this is the offer we just made. The lion's share of agents, like 99.9%, always take the offer to the player, but sometimes say, not good, don't take it, or wow, hurry up, take it, or hey, stop doing steroids until we sign it, then keep doing that. Why would Jerry Jones go after a very well-known agent? His name is David Mulugeta, and he represents Micah Parsons. When Micah Parsons heard what Jerry Jones said while impugning his agent, it took him 1 minute to come out with his own tweet, which said, David is the best, and I will not be doing any deal without David Mulugeta involved. Like anyone with a good sense, I hired experts for a reason. There's no one I trust more when it comes to negotiating contracts than David. There will be no back doors in this contract negotiation. Was it the GM, Jerry Jones, who thought that it would be good to get Micah Parsons to have to defend his agent and then make sure the agent is going to be a total pain in the $, with all of the guarantee provisions, all of the any bonuses, and all of the extra perks that may be inside and entitled in a contract? What was exactly the thought? Was it the owner saying, I don't want to deal with the agent anymore? That happens. But then the GM says to the owner, don't worry, I'll deal with the agent. You don't have to. If the GM says to the owner, I will not deal with this guy anymore, the owner simply says, I get it. I'm going to have the AGM do it, or I'll have the president of player personnel do it. There is no scenario that an owner says to a GM, you don't want to deal with an agent? No problem. Go to the player, ignore the agent. There is no scenario where the GM says to the owner, you don't like the agent? You're right. Let's go right to the player. It doesn't happen. Why would Jerry Jones think that this is the right time? Is it because he has an agreement in principle? Does Micah Parsons think twice about signing this extension because Jerry Jones won't deal with his agent? Absolutely not. The money will speak. Agents who keep a percentage of any deal signed have to do the work for the player in order to show their worth to the player and stop the player from hiring a lawyer just to go over the contract and the guarantee provisions. When you call an agent into question, you are going to force that agent to actually become further entrenched into this contract negotiation. So I spent some time, Coca, last night trying to think, what am I missing? What's the end game here? Are they really not done the way Jerry Jones said they were done? Is the difference between an oral agreement and getting it down in writing sufficient that there's open issues to the point where Jerry Jones thought that Micah would be a yes or a no on those extra issues and that getting the agent involved would only be hurtful to accomplishing that goal? Did Micah Parsons tell Jerry Jones, I've got a lawyer, don't worry. Feel free to backdoor me as much as you want, but I'll use the lawyer, not the agent? Could that have happened? It seems very unlikely. If Micah Parsons had stayed quiet after what Jerry Jones said, I would have said that is the most likely outcome right now, is that Micah is trying to move on and not pay the commission. But for Micah to come out as quickly as he did in favor of his agent and in favor of paying the commission, obviously knowing how much the agent adds value to the negotiation, it's sort of a simple equation for a player. If you think an agent got you more than 5% above what you could get, then an agent was worthwhile. If you think an agent got you more than 10% above what you could get on your own, then an agent is worthwhile. If an agent is not doing anything for you at all, either on or off the field or on and off the microphone, then you wouldn't have an agent. It's actually quite simple that all talent, all players, all people who have agents, all actors. Why do you think when you are accepting an Academy Award that these actors constantly thank their publicists, their agents, their manager, their team? Because the agents, the managers, the publicists, the team, they're out there drumming business. That's what agents do for players too. They don't just, the best agents don't just sign a guy to a contract and then ignore him. The best agents are constantly working with the players, looking at endorsements, looking at ways to add more money to the players' pockets, looking for ways to solve issues that the players have on a going forward basis, whether it happens at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Micah Parsons obviously has a relationship with his agent that Jerry Jones is not going to stop. I tried so many times to get players to leave agents, I can't even tell you. I wanted players to leave Boris all the time. I wanted players to leave Matt Sosnick. I don't mean to throw shrapnel to Matt Sosnick. He had a very loyal group of players that we had. But the reason why I wanted agents and players to be separated is, as a president, when I thought that the agents were putting thoughts into the head of a player that made it unrealistic and impossible for us to sign that player, whether it was arbitration or free agency. But in the Cowboys situation, we heard from Jerry Jones, the deal's done. The agreement in principle is already existing. So what would be the reason? And then the sun came up and I realized that I have a show to do at 8 o'clock Eastern, and I'm not going to come up with one. So by all means, in the chat or wherever you are, davidsamsonpodcast.com, if you can come up with any reason why Jerry Jones, either the owner or the GM, would say what he said about Micah Parsons' agent, please. I don't want to have to think about it anymore.